We often mention millions of Ukrainians who were forced to flee the war to other countries. But today's story is about the movement in the opposite direction. We'll talk about people who returned from abroad and joined the army. My name is Catherine Litvincheva, and you are listening to UA, the day that we survived. The war Russia has started against Ukraine is affecting the whole world. Food blockade, price increase and energy blackmail are just some of the damage caused by the Russian Federation. We tell the stories of real people who impress with their resilience, despite all the difficulties around. You can support our efforts as an independent media and podcast platform on Patreon, via the link in the description. This episode has two stories. One is from the man preparing for war, and the second is from someone already there. The first to tell about his experience is an aerial reconnaissance soldier Maksym. He was born in Poltava region, lived in Lviv and other cities, and at the time of the full-scale invasion, he lived and worked in Poland.
Until February 24, I lived in Poland for the last 6 months. I had a normal job in an Amazon warehouse. And why did I live and work there? Because I used to work in the public sector for non-profit charitable organizations for several years. I burned out, the work was mentally hard, there were many achievements, but somehow I lost faith, stopped believing in myself and decided to go abroad. There I led a quiet life and was wondering whether I would return to Ukraine or not. But when the full-scale invasion began, everything inside just twisted and changed. I realized that I had to return not to betray myself. When I came back, my work began. It was hard to get into the army, but eventually through all vicissitudes I faced, I got into the 68 Ranger Brigade, and since March 6 I have begun serving in it. Soon I got to the Donbass. Since late March I have been serving in the combat zone in the Donetsk region.
Sometimes Maksym thought he would probably never return to Ukraine, but the war quickly changed his mind.
To look deeper, why did I come back and start fighting, I realized that my whole life, which I value and which I love, is about my close people here in Ukraine. So this decision was made.
And this is the story from Andrii.
Hello, my name is Andrii. I'm 32 years old. For the last 6 years I have been living in Germany, in the southern city of Karlsruhe. I used to work as a programmer in the patent industry.
This is how the full-scale invasion began for him.
February 24th caught me at the ski resort in Austria, where I was hanging out with my friends. Our morning began with news about the full-scale invasion. For the first few hours I felt numb. Then I got outside, slid down the hill a couple of times just to clear my head and figure out what to do next. To be honest, the plan to go to Ukraine and enlist in the armed forces was born there. I texted my friends in the military asking what kind of gear I'll need and what I can bring with me. And I got a pretty rational answer from Andrii, a professional military psychologist. "It's okay, dude," he said. "We are handling it. You don't have military experience. Do what you can where you are."
Andrii started waiting for the ordered gear. The plan to return to Ukraine was in place.
While I was waiting for my gear to arrive, our local Facebook chats like Ukrainians in Stuttgart were bubbling with messages like "a car is heading to Ukraine, free seat for everyone who is going to enlist." So I think plenty of people went back then. But I got myself in the situation. My gear took some time to arrive. While I was waiting for my delivery, I decided not to waste time and help in some other way. I attended one of the rallies organized by Ukrainians in my city and turned out to be one of the main organizers unexpectedly. I had free time. Sorry, there is war, I said at work. I won't be coming to work on Monday. Right at a mall's parking lot, we placed the flag on my bike, bordered it with ropes, just like we used to do at competitions, and started collecting humanitarian aid. This is how my active volunteering started, and it only grew in the next 2 days. In 2-3 days, we managed to arrange a warehouse, started developing operations. But through all that time, I was hanging on my initial plan to go to Ukraine. I even eyed a particular enlistment office in Anovoya Vorsk, just waited for my gear to arrive, and it took time, not just a day or two. Meanwhile, I found myself in the moment as one of the leaders of the volunteer movement in my city. It would lose momentum or even fade without me, so I decided to listen to the advice of my acquaintance, continue to volunteer. I think that movement was quite justified and logical for that moment. Our team did a lot. We got plenty of medicine and medical equipment to Ukraine, tons of aid sometimes. Sometimes half or a truck was filled with only medicine, so it's a lot. When the summer rolled in, our volunteer activity became more coordinated and organized. More people came in to work on this, and the organization functioned well even without me. When I saw that, I immediately started thinking about my initial plan. It happened so I was about to leave my work then. We agreed that I'll quit on June 31st, so I decided to go back to my initial plan and started to prepare to come back to Ukraine. I was smoothing tons of issues like whom to lease my apartment to and what to do next. My friend mentioned just in a casual conversation that there is a military department in the National University of Defense, and it teaches an intensive course for reserve officers. So I thought, why not? I have a degree and quite relevant experience in other fields, so why not finish this training first, I thought, and bring value to the armed forces, probably even more and just mobilizing right away. I passed enrollment exams quite well, so that became my new plan. I pursue a specialization in combat use of mechanized troops, and after graduation I will be a specialist in mechanized infantry.
Спеціалістом з механізованої піхоти.
Andrii is studying and wants to bring maximum benefit to the armed forces and Ukraine in general.
Україна – це
Ukraine is my home. Both my conscience and the Constitution declare that it's my duty to defend my home whenever possible. I believe that I have such an opportunity now and I'm trying to put it into practice. I have no experience in combat operations. I'm fully aware of that, but a full-scale invasion didn't come as a mental surprise to me. Do I feel fear? Yes, of course. I'm as scared as any other mentally healthy person. When we hike in mountains, there are plenty of scary moments, but one of my life principles sounds something like this. I do not want to do or not do something now that I will be ashamed of later. And if I didn't try to fulfill this opportunity now, I would obviously be ashamed of it in the future.
зараз мені б за це було б, очевидно, в майбутньому соромно.
Currently, Ukrainian men from 18 to 60 years old are not allowed to travel abroad. These are the rules of martial law. We have yet to determine precisely how many of them have returned after the 24th of February, but there are many cases when young men and women come from abroad to defend Ukraine. And we thank every one of them for their service. Me, Catherine Litvincheva, was with you. You can find useful links in the episode description. Please stay safe and listen to Ukrainians. This episode was supported by Urban Space 100.